from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on Ag Day, the Secretary of Ag reveals the state of the farm economy, plus a fresh gauge on producer sentiment and agribusiness, the impact of a growing economy on commodities.
For years and years and years, the Fed's been trying to push inflation. They've been trying to get us at 2% inflation. They haven't had much luck, it seems like. All of a sudden, we're now starting to get some organic inflation.
Americans want to eat healthy, but they're buying less salad. And meet a Wisconsin baker using her farm kit experience to win a Food Network competition.
Ag Day, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clint Griffiths. USDA is set to highlight its first forecast of 2018 farm income later this morning. But Tuesday, the head of the agency telling a congressional hearing the farm economy is in a fragile state.
Our farmers are more leveraged than they were 5 years ago, and that's a challenge. There's rising debt, not to the level necessarily of the 80s, but concerning, particularly for those beginning farmers, the ones that didn't quite have the advantage of the 2008 to 2013 run-up in commodity prices.
While Sunday Purdue spoke with the House Ag Committee, the latest Purdue University CME Group Ag Barometer showing agricultural producers were more optimistic last month about the overall farm economy. The barometer in at 135, a 9-point gain from December. Purdue economists say the month-over-month increase was due to improvement in two sub-indices that gauge current conditions and future expectations. In January, 43% said their farms were financially worse off than a year ago, while 14% said their farms were financially better off. Purdue says that number, 43%, is significant.
That doesn't sound good, and that actually isn't great, and it highlights the difficult farm financial economy we have out there that you alluded to. But this has improved a lot from, say, a year or 18 months ago when that was nearly 8 out of 10 producers. So this downtrend from 80% to 40% has been an important part of the improvement in the ag economy and producer sentiment.
Widmar says another potential driver of producer sentiment was the passage of the tax reform bill. Nearly half of those surveyed say they expect their tax bill to be beneficial to their operations. 19% expect the tax bill to have a negative impact, and a third was undecided. During his testimony to the House Ag Committee, Ag Secretary Perdue laid out his perspective on the state of the ag industry, including the other major issues and unknowns lingering on the horizon. National reporter Betsy Gibbon has more.
Clinton's Secretary Perdue touching on topics from the Farm Bill to prices to trade, taking time to answer questions about all of these issues and their potential impact on the overall ag economy. China announcing this week the country is launching an anti-dumping probe of U.S. sorghum, which could be investigated for over a year. A possible retaliation for Washington's tough talk and investigation of Chinese steel and other goods.
For those of you in grain sorghum country, we know just with the mention of China considering anti-dumping and countervailing duty taxes, the cash price on sorghum dropped over $1, which was 25% on the cash prices.
Secretary Perdue highlighting the issue during his opening comments. China also the very first question asked by Ag House Chairman Mike Conaway.
Can you visit with a little bit of what the agency can do in the interim while this is being played out for our sorghum producers?
We've advocated on behalf of the ag economy to be prepared for any kind of situation that may arise on actions they may take. We think the sorghum issue will mollify over a period of time. It just shows you as an example how fragile and how sensitive the ag economy and commodity prices are now.
Trade talk continues with lawmakers' questions on murky NAFTA talks and progress with renegotiations. Perdue confident with the outcome.
I'm more hopeful than I have been. I think probably we see more movement on Mexico's side than we do Canada. I believe, frankly, we'll get a better deal from both of them and preserve the benefits for all three countries.
Before the end of this year?
Yes, sir. I think, again, we've got the Mexican elections coming up. We've got one more round here, which I believe will be, in my opinion, will be extended. But I think, again, we get the Mexican politics out of the way, I think we'll have a deal before the end of the year.
Questions shifting to immigration and the need for a year-round program for all sectors of agriculture.
I know that we're working on a good resolution on those, but we've advised them to be very favorable in those discussions. I'm very hopeful that it can work into the legal agricultural workforce, can work its way into any of the immigration debate and discussion and resolution that Congress comes up with in the future.
The Farm Bill was also mentioned during the hearing, where Secretary Perdue pointed to the 2014 Farm Bill as a good path forward. He said again, dairy and cotton did not fare well, and he hopes to have a viable solution for those two sectors this year.
All right, thanks, Betsy. Speculation continues on a potential timeline for Farm Bill talks in 2018. Both the House and Senate schedules are unlikely to be settled until Congress reaches an agreement on the omnibus spending bill. Now, House Agriculture Chairman Mike Conaway says Congress should attach provisions to help cotton and dairy farmers to any must-pass bill before the Farm Bill comes up. Now, as for the Farm Bill itself, he says Senate Ag Chair Pat Roberts would like to bring up the bill in March, but that it probably won't be ready. Senate Ag Committee member Jerry Moran says he expects the bill to make it to the floor soon.
My prediction is that we continue to work to get a Farm Bill done. My understanding is the House is looking at next month, and I know that Senator Roberts says that we're going to get it done this spring in the Senate.
Conaway says Congress does not have to make mandatory cuts this time like they did in 2014, noting Farm Bill spending has decreased $100 billion since 2014. Snow continues to blanket much of the Midwest. Mike Hoffman has a look at today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Clinton. Jay Magnuson showing us how northwest Iowa has been covered with snow over the last couple of days. The first picture shows his operation over the weekend. The second shows a rude awakening of snow Monday morning. Meanwhile, a rare visitor to USDA headquarters in Washington, one of the Ag Department's photographers spotted a snowy owl atop the South Building. USDA says snowy owls are rare in the District of Columbia. These birds are generally seen in open country, like in the marshes or pastures. And taking a look at the wind speed forecast for today, South Texas into the southeast and the higher elevations of the northern Rockies going to see the most wind as we head through the day today. You can also see the Rockies wind continues as we head into the day tomorrow. Not a whole lot of wind east of the Rockies, though, until we get to the afternoon, a little bit developing through the central plain states. We'll have your forecast over the next few days coming up, but first, here are some hometown temps.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
While the stock market is showing gyrations, the overall economic picture is showing some positive signs. What's the impact on the commodity markets? We'll examine next in Agribusiness. And a farm kid brings a bit of Wisconsin's dairy heritage to a major foodie challenge. Details as we head in the country. In Agribusiness, another interesting day in the markets. Let's get some perspective on Tuesday's trade action from our friends on the floor at the CME.
Today's soybeans jumped up. The futures rallied off a minor support level and really got ahead of steam, up almost 17.5 cents. With the stock market finally rebounding, and we kind of got a little more equilibrium that we can get back to our own business, and which is our fundamentals. And right now there still is some weather concerns in South America, and that's really getting the market up. And so now our target is really at $10. Corn also rebounded. It had a new high, and it really sparked some new buying coming in. But there was some spillover buying coming from the soybeans, because what's happening in South America really will affect the corn market as well. Today, cattle slipped a little bit. The sell-off in the equities is definitely affecting the livestock market, and it's adding pressure because with economic uncertainty and a little bit instability in the economy or in the stock market, it really lends itself to a reduction of demand in beef and pork. That's all from the floor at the CME Group here in Chicago. I'm Virginia McGathy.
Jim McCormick, Allendale, our guest here at the Agribusiness Desk today. Jim, you know, last week we saw some of the jobs numbers come out. We're talking about adding 200,000 jobs to the economy. We're looking at unemployment rates down at 4.1%. Plus, GDP growth is pacing at about 5% in the Q1. What does this mean for commodities and the economy in general?
I think what it means in the economy in general is it's really hitting on all cylinders, not just here in the U.S. but around the world. But the U.S., let's look at that specifically. We're starting to see wage growth.
Sure.
And for years and years, the Fed's been trying to push inflation. They've been trying to get us at 2% inflation. They haven't had much luck. It seems like all of a sudden we're now starting to get some organic inflation, is what I'm seeing. Look what crude oil's done. It's tripled in the last couple of years. Cotton has gone up in price despite the fact that we've doubled the stocks. Funds want to own that. The cattle, the market, the funds want to own cattle. They want to own hogs. That is inflation that we're seeing. And the job growth, we're seeing people getting hired. Wages are going up. Walmart just gave wage rallies to everybody. We're seeing that.
Tax cuts.
Tax cuts. All that's going to start coming in here. So you're going to start seeing money chasing money. And I believe once that money starts chasing up, that's where we could see this underlying bullishness to the ag sector that we haven't seen in some of these corn, beans, wheat. The funds are heavily short all that stuff. If they decide that they want to own this thing, we could take off.
Yeah.
And the hard part is when. Everyone says when. It's like that's the magic about inflation is it's hard to control, but once it's there, it really tends to run. And what'll happen is we'll get it. And then what eventually forces the government to raise interest rates to tap it down. But that's the bullish thing out there, I think, in the long run for producers to kind of be positive about, in essence.
Well, and and it's not just the U.S. economy doing well, it's the global economy, which also plays really well in our own commodities.
The global economy is very, very key. I mean, the dollar's been trending weaker. The administration pretty much came out, I think the well-known secret, they wanted a cheaper dollar. Cheaper dollar helps the agriculture sector, stimulates exports. Corn exports were lagging. They caught up this week. Cattle exports are very strong the last couple of weeks, so that's a very good sign. So if the rest of the world's economies are going strong and our dollar is a little bit weaker, that should drive demand to our products, which is going to be the key to get rid of this surplus of grain that we've had due to just phenomenal growing seasons we've had the last couple of years.
Well, I like a little bit of positive news. Thanks, Jim. That is a good way to look at all of this growth, and hopefully will chase its way back here into the agriculture sector. Appreciate you. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
To talk to Jim McCormick one-on-one, contact Allendale Incorporated at 815-578-6166 or email Jim at jmccormick@allendale-inc.com. Ag Day, brought to you by Credenz soybean seed from Bayer, designed using smart genetics with tailored varieties to fit any field condition.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman looking at the Root Zone Moisture Index. And Mike, we have to remember that this is a percent of average, right?
Yeah, so those dry areas in the southwest are drier than they typically are dry already this time of the year, if that makes any sense. But it's also the dryness across the southern plains into the central Mississippi Valley that's a concern. So with the pattern that we've seen recently, there's not a lot of hope through this area of getting moisture over the next few weeks. Now, that can change. Don't lose hope on that. But with the pattern that we've been in, it's been getting actually better in these dry areas in the mid-Atlantic into the parts of the Northeast. But this is a concern from the southern plains into the southwest as we head into the growing season. But we'll wait and see. There's the storm system this morning over the Ohio Valley. Lots of snow to the north of it. That's going to put down a lot of snow in the northeast, by the way. Showers and even a few thunderstorms from eastern Tennessee all the way down into southern Texas. Next system coming into northern Montana with mostly snow in that area, as you can see there. High pressure over Iowa by later today. Drying things out, still some scattered lake effect into the western lakes by late today. Heading into the day tomorrow, already some snow streaking into the plain states with that secondary system, and that will continue to streak across parts of Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, into northern Indiana, southern Michigan by later in the day tomorrow. This is the pattern that we've seen over the past week, and we continue to see one storm system all week for the most part, weak storm systems, but nonetheless each one of them putting down some areas of snow. Precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours, most of it's been over the southern Mississippi Valley and Tennessee valleys. Adding in the next 36 hours, you can see how that storm marches right up through the northeast. We get some strips of moisture then across the plain states with the next two systems. Snowfall past 24 hours, mainly been from southern Iowa, northern Missouri, into Pennsylvania and West Virginia, and also the higher elevations of the Rockies. Adding in the next 36 hours, we're going to put down a foot in some of the interior sections of New England. Otherwise, most of this is on the light side, on the order of 1 to 3, 2 to 4 as we move across the Plain States. Temperatures this afternoon only in the teens north of those fronts. South of there, it's still pretty chilly. That air mass is still fairly cold for this time of the year until you get to Florida or South Texas. Then you can see low temperatures tomorrow morning, single digits from Chicago northward, 20s and 30s all the way down into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama and Georgia. Highs tomorrow afternoon, more of the same, teens north, although it does warm up a little bit in the southeast. Here's the jet stream, and it continues to show something that I'm not real sure about. It keeps trying to do a cutoff low in the southwest, which would keep the real cold air from plummeting too far into the east. So we're going to have to watch this as we head into next week. It continues to try to show that same cutoff there. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Fresno, California, morning fog, then sunny and mild, high of 77. Topeka, Kansas, a good deal of sunshine, not as cold, high up to 32. And finally, Richmond, Virginia, cloudy with rain at times, high around 59.
All right, still to come, a Wisconsin baker uses some of her rural roots to earn top honors at a high-pressure cook-off. We'll show you how it pays off to be a farm kid at heart. Plus, many Americans want to be fit, so why is the popularity of salads dropping off?
AgDay, brought to you by Liberty Herbicide, the simply better solution for superior weed control and a stronger yield.
Ingredients for Subway restaurants in Florida won't have to travel far from the source. The sandwich maker is partnering with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services to promote its use of tomatoes, cucumbers, and green peppers from Florida. Subways throughout the state will use Fresh from Florida advertising and marketing material February through April, otherwise known as the spring break season. Subway purchased more than 74 million pounds of Florida vegetables in 2017. It has 1,500 locations in the state. While a growing number of Americans want to know about the healthy options on a menu, it seems fewer consumers are ordering soup and salads. The research firm Technomic saying that the number of restaurant goers getting soup and salad has dropped from 2 years ago. It seems these customers are looking for more unique alternative healthy options such as roasted cauliflower. Technomic says there are more and more healthy options, so brands need to differentiate themselves. All right, up next, we'll see how a Wisconsin baker channeled her inner farm kid to bring home top honors on a national cooking challenge.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit KubotaUSA.com today.
Do you ever watch one of those cooking shows on TV and say, I could do that? Well, a farm kid from western Wisconsin did just that, and she earned top honors for her baking skills. In this video provided by the Wisconsin Milk Marketing Board, we hear how she brought a bit of farm country to the TV studio.
In her industrial kitchen located in the basement level of her home, pastry chef Jen Barney whips up a batch of cranberry orange scones, and her favorite ingredients are Wisconsin-made.
I'm a huge fan of Westby sour cream. It's really rich and it's thicker than most sour creams.
During her stint on the Food Network's Holiday Baking Championship, Jen took every opportunity she could to talk about the state she's proud to call home.
Anytime I had a chance to represent where I came from, I tried to plug Wisconsin as much as possible. Yes, it was with the dairy. It was also with the produce, the cranberries, with my story about growing up on a dairy farm.
In fact, people might recognize the iconic barn she used as inspiration.
Family built my home on my grandparents' farmland. So I had this beautiful childhood of just running through cornfields and picking rock and feeding calves.
Jen used a likeness of her family's dairy barn to decorate one of her winning cakes. That cake and personal story won the accolades of the judges.
I had a huge response after that episode. That was my episode. It really was. I think that put me in the competition. That was my moment.
While that was truly a highlight for Jen, she says it wasn't always easy to predict how the judges would interpret her desserts.
I like it when you taste something and it puts you on a journey. So maybe it's to start off with the butter and then you hit other flavors and then it finishes with another feeling or another type of sensation on your tongue.
Overall, she won over the judges with her Wisconsin-born ideals.
I was raised with that, kill 'em with kindness, and it helped me because I felt like I want to be a good person. I want to put out good food.
And that's Wisconsin Dairy News.
Now, what about the prize money? Well, Jen's saving it for later when she has more time to invest in a brick and mortar bakery. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in, spent part of your day with us. For Mike Hoffman, Betsy Gibbon, and all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
AgDay, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest lasting heavy-duty pickups.